The scene Zoleka walked in on should have been impossible. Baek Do-yoon didn't do kindness. He didn't do warmth. He definitely didn't do babies. The owner of the Pearl Club was known for firing employees over water spots on glasses, for making grown men nervous with just a look, for being so cold that people joked ice ran through his veins instead of blood. Yet there he was, fast asleep on his office sofa at 3 in the afternoon, with Zoleka's 6-month-old baby curled up on his chest like it was the most natural thing in the world. She stood frozen in the doorway, her mind trying to make sense of what she was seeing. She'd hidden Thabo in the storage room that morning out of pure desperation. No babysitter, no money, no choice. She'd been terrified someone would find out. And someone had found out. The worst possible someone. Except he wasn't yelling, wasn't calling security, wasn't even awake. He was just sleeping. With her baby. His hand resting gently on Thabo's back, his face peaceful in a way that made him look almost human. Zoleka took one step into the room, and the floor creaked. His eyes opened, and when Baek Do-yoon looked at her, she saw something she never expected to see in those cold, dark eyes. Understanding. Zoleka stared at her phone screen, reading the message for the 3rd time. Her babysitter had just canceled. Again. No explanation, just a simple text that said she couldn't watch Thabo anymore. It was 5:30 in the morning. Her shift started at 7. She looked at her 6-month-old son sleeping peacefully in his crib, his tiny chest rising and falling. The rent was due in 4 days. The electricity bill was overdue. She had exactly 12,001 left in her account, which was barely enough for formula and diapers. Missing work wasn't an option. Getting fired would be worse. Zoleka picked up her phone and started calling. First, she tried Mrs. Kim from downstairs. No answer. Then she called the emergency childcare service she'd found online last month. They were fully booked. She tried 3 more numbers. Nothing. The clock kept moving. 6:15. She fed Thabo and packed his diaper bag with shaking hands. 6:45. She wrapped him in his warmest blanket and tucked him into his carrier. 6:58. She was running down the stairs of her apartment building, trying not to cry. The subway ride felt like a nightmare. Other passengers stared at her, at the baby carrier, at her wrinkled work uniform. She avoided their eyes and held Thabo closer. She'd worked at the Pearl Club for 8 months now. It was the kind of place where politicians and business executives went to make deals over expensive whiskey. The kind of place that had rules for everything. Rule number 1, don't be late. Rule number 2, stay invisible. Rule number 3, absolutely no personal problems at work. Bringing a baby definitely counted as a personal problem. Zoleka entered through the staff entrance at exactly 7:02. Manager Choi was already barking orders at the kitchen staff. She slipped past him, keeping her head down, and rushed to the storage room at the end of the hallway. It was small and dusty, filled with extra linens and cleaning supplies. She cleared a space behind a shelf and set up Thabo's carrier. He was still sleeping, thank God. She left the door cracked open just enough so she could hear if he cried. "Please stay asleep," she whispered. "Just for a few hours. Please." Her first 2 hours were busy enough to keep her distracted. She served breakfast to early arrivals, refilled coffee cups, cleared tables. Every 15 minutes, she found an excuse to walk past the storage room. Each time, silence. Thabo was being an angel. At 9:30, Manager Choi called everyone together. "The owner is coming today," he announced. His face was tense. "Everything must be perfect. Do you understand? Perfect." The other servers exchanged nervous glances. The owner rarely came to the Pearl Club. He had people who managed it for him. When he did show up, someone usually got fired. "Who's the owner?" Zoleka whispered to Minji, the server who trained her. "Baek Do-yoon," Minji whispered back. "Haven't you heard of him? His family basically runs half of Seoul's business district. People say his father has connections to some really powerful people, the kind you don't want to upset. Is he that bad? Last time he came, he fired 3 people in one day because a glass had a water spot. Zuleika's stomach dropped. At 10:15, Baek Do-yoon walked in. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 5 degrees. He was tall, probably in his early 30s, with sharp features and eyes that looked like they could see right through you. He didn't smile, didn't greet anyone, just walked straight to his private office in the back. Manager Choi practically ran after him. Zuleika tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept drifting to the storage room, to Thabo, to what would happen if he woke up and cried. 11:30, still quiet. 12:15. A small whimper, but it stopped. 1:45. Zuleika was refilling water glasses when she heard it, a sound that made her blood run cold. Crying, not just fussing, full, loud, angry crying. She dropped what she was doing and rushed toward the storage room, but Manager Choi caught her arm. "Where are you going? Table 7 needs their order taken." "I just need 1 minute, Now, Zuleika." She had no choice. She went to table 7, wrote down their order with shaking hands, and ran to the storage room the second she was done. The door was wide open. The carrier was empty. Her baby was gone. Hey, before we continue with what happens next, if you're enjoying this story, just drop a comment and let me know what you think Zuleika should do right now. Would you panic or try to stay calm? And if you're new here, you might want to stick around because this story is about to get wild. Zuleika's heart was pounding so hard she thought she might pass out. She checked behind the shelves, under the linens, everywhere. Nothing. Thabo was gone. Someone had taken her baby. She ran back into the hallway, looking left and right. The kitchen staff were busy prepping lunch. No baby. She checked the bathroom. Empty. The staff break room. Empty. Where would someone take a baby? Who would even... Then she heard it. Not crying this time. Cooing. The sound was coming from upstairs, from the private offices. Zuleika's mind raced. If someone had found Thabo and told Manager Choi, she would already be fired. But if they'd taken him upstairs, maybe they were trying to figure out whose baby it was first. Either way, she was finished. She climbed the stairs on shaking legs. The cooing got louder. It was definitely Thabo. She'd know that sound anywhere. The hallway upstairs was quiet and empty. Thick carpet, dark wood doors, the kind of luxury that reminded her she didn't belong here. There were 3 offices. 2 doors were open and dark. One was closed. The sound was coming from behind the closed door. Zuleika raised her hand to knock, then stopped. What if it was Baek Do-yoon's office? What if he was the one who found Thabo? She pressed her ear to the door. Silence now. No crying, no cooing. Nothing. She couldn't wait anymore. She had to know. Zuleika turned the handle as quietly as she could and pushed the door open just enough to see inside. What she saw made absolutely no sense. Baek Do-yoon was lying on a leather sofa. His eyes were closed, his breathing even. And on his chest, curled up like it was the most natural thing in the world, was Thabo. Her baby was asleep on the chest of Seoul's most feared businessman. Zuleika stood frozen in the doorway. Do-yoon's hand was resting on Thabo's back, protective and gentle. His face looked different when he was sleeping. Younger. Almost peaceful. She must have made a sound, because his eyes opened. They stared at each other for a long moment. Zuleika waited for him to yell, to demand explanations, to call security. But he didn't move, just looked at her with those dark, unreadable eyes. "I'm so sorry," she finally whispered. "I can explain, He was crying," Do-yoon said quietly. His voice was different than she expected. Calm. In the storage room. "I know. I'm so sorry. I lost my babysitter, and I couldn't miss work, and I didn't know what else to do. I heard him when I walked past. The door was open. Zuleika's mind was spinning. You found him? He wouldn't stop crying. So I picked him up. Do-yoon said it like it was obvious, like it was normal for a CEO to comfort a stranger's baby instead of firing the employee who brought it to work. I'll take him now. I'll leave. You don't have to. What's his name? The question caught her off guard. Thabo. How old? 6 months. Do-yoon looked down at the sleeping baby on his chest. Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe. Or memory. He looks comfortable. I really am sorry. This will never happen again. The door behind her suddenly swung open. Manager Choi stood there, his face red with anger. Zuleika, what are you doing up here? You're supposed to be. He stopped mid-sentence when he saw Do-yoon on the sofa. His eyes went wide. Sir, I apologize. I didn't know you were. Is that a baby? Leave, Do-yoon said. Sir? Close the door and leave. Manager Choi looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Do-yoon's voice made him think better of it. He backed out and shut the door. Zuleika felt sick. This was it. She was definitely fired. Maybe worse. Maybe he'd make sure she never worked anywhere in Seoul again. Sit down, Do-yoon said. I should really just sit. She sat in the chair across from the sofa, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Do-yoon carefully shifted Thabo off his chest and laid him down on the cushions beside him. The baby stirred, but didn't wake. Then Do-yoon sat up and looked at her directly. You brought a baby to work, he said. Wasn't a question. Yes. Why? My babysitter quit this morning. I have no family here. I couldn't afford emergency childcare. And I can't lose this job. Her voice cracked on the last word. So you hid him in a storage room? Yes. That's dangerous. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't have a choice. Do-yoon was quiet for a moment. Where's his father? Not in the picture. Family? In South Africa. Friends? I'm still new here. I don't really have anyone. He studied her face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. You've been working here for 8 months. You're never late. You don't complain. Manager Choi says you work harder than anyone else. Zuleika blinked. You know who I am? I know everyone who works for me. But there are over 50 staff members. 53, he corrected. You're number 41. Started last February. You always take the early shift. You never take breaks. She didn't know what to say to that. What's your plan now? He asked. I'll find someone to watch him. I promise this won't happen again. Please don't fire me. You can't find someone in the next 3 hours. Your shift isn't over until 5. I'll figure something out. How? She had no answer. Do-yoon looked at Thabo again. He can stay in my office for the rest of your shift. Zuleika was sure she'd misheard. What? I have work to do here anyway. He's already asleep. When he wakes up, what does he need? Bottles are in his bag. Diapers. But you can't. You don't have to. I'm not offering because I have to. I'm offering because it's practical. You work better when you're not worried. The club runs better when you work better. He paused, and he's quiet now. It was the strangest logic Zuleika had ever heard, but she was desperate enough to accept it. Thank you, she managed. Really, thank you so much. Go back to work. I'll call you if there's a problem. Zuleika stood up on shaky legs. She looked at Thabo one more time, peaceful and safe on the sofa, then back at Do-yoon. Why are you helping me? She asked. His expression shifted. For just a second, she saw something raw in his eyes. Because someone should have helped me once, and no one did. Before she could ask what he meant, He turned away and opened his laptop. She left the office feeling like she'd just stepped into an alternate universe. The rest of her shift passed in a blur. Minji pulled her aside in the kitchen. "What happened upstairs? Manager Choi looks like he's about to explode." "Nothing. I needed to talk to Mr. Baek about something." "You talked to him? And you're still alive?" "He's not that scary," Minji laughed. "Are we talking about the same person? Last month he made a supplier cry just by looking at their invoice." At 4:30, Zoleka's phone buzzed. "Unknown number. He needs a bottle. Come up." She grabbed Thabo's bag and rushed upstairs. This time she knocked. "Come in." Do-yoon was sitting at his desk, typing on his laptop. Thabo was awake, lying on a blanket on the sofa, staring up at the ceiling. "He started fussing 10 minutes ago," Do-yoon said without looking up. Zoleka quickly prepared a bottle and picked up Thabo. He latched on immediately, drinking like he was starving. "Has he been okay?" she asked. "Fine. He slept for 2 hours. Woke up. I changed him." "You changed his diaper?" "The instructions were on your bag." Zoleka stared at him. "You read diaper instructions." "It wasn't complicated." She sat down in the chair, feeding Thabo and trying to process everything. This man, this cold, powerful man who made employees nervous just by existing, had spent his afternoon babysitting her son. "I have a question," Do-yoon said suddenly. "Okay." "Does he always grab fingers like that?" "Like what?" "When I gave him the pacifier earlier, he grabbed my finger. Wouldn't let go for 5 minutes. Despite everything, Zoleka smiled. "Yeah, he does that." "Why?" "I think it makes him feel safe." Do-yoon nodded slowly, like he was filing that information away. At 5:03, her shift ended. She packed up Thabo's things while Do-yoon continued working. "Thank you," she said again. "I mean it. You didn't have to do any of this." "Find a reliable babysitter," he replied. "This can't happen again." "I know. I will." She was halfway to the door when he spoke again. "Zoleka." It was the first time he'd said her name. She turned around. "If you can't find someone by tomorrow, call this number." He held out a business card. "My assistant will arrange something temporary, just until you find permanent help. I can't ask you to—" "You're not asking. I'm offering." She took the card with shaking hands. "Why are you being so kind to me?" He didn't answer right away, just looked at Thabo, then back at her. "Because he reminds me of someone I lost," he finally said. "And I'm tired of pretending that doesn't matter." Zoleka left the office with more questions than answers. But as she stepped out into the evening air, holding Thabo close, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. She had no idea that by tomorrow morning everything would get much, much more complicated. When Zoleka got home that night, she put Thabo to bed and collapsed on her own mattress. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Secretary Kim. Mr. Baek asked me to send you contact information for 3 reliable childcare services. See attached list. 3 names, phone numbers, and references. All vetted. All available." Zoleka stared at the message until her vision blurred. The next morning, she called the first number. A woman named Mrs. Lee answered, warm and professional. They arranged a meeting for that afternoon. The rate was higher than Zoleka could really afford, but Mrs. Lee mentioned that there was a subsidy available through a private fund. "I don't understand," Zoleka said. "What fund?" "It's for single mothers working in hospitality. Very generous benefactor. Anonymous." Zoleka had a pretty good idea who that benefactor was. She went to work that day with Thabo safely in Mrs. Lee's care. Manager Choi ignored her completely, which was somehow worse than being yelled at. The other servers whispered when she walked past. At lunch, Minji sat down next to her in the break room. "So," Minji said carefully, "there's a rumor going around." "What rumor?" "That you and Mr. Baek, that you two, you know." Zoleka nearly choked on her water. What? No, absolutely not. Then why did you spend an hour in his office yesterday? With a baby? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Zuleika didn't know how to answer that, because honestly, she had no idea what yesterday was. A moment of unexpected kindness? A strange coincidence? Something else entirely? He was just helping me with a childcare problem, she finally said. Minji raised an eyebrow. Baek Do-yoon doesn't help people with childcare problems. He barely helps people with work problems. Well, he helped me. Exactly. That's what's weird. Before Zuleika could respond, Manager Choi appeared in the doorway. Zuleika, Mr. Baek wants to see you upstairs. The break room went silent. Everyone stared. Zuleika's heart started racing again. Now? Now. She followed Manager Choi up the stairs, very aware of all the eyes on her back. He knocked on Do-yoon's door and left without a word. Come in, Do-yoon called. He was standing by the window this time, phone to his ear. He gestured for her to sit and continued his conversation in rapid Korean. Something about contracts and deadlines and lawyers. When he hung up, he turned to face her. Did you call Mrs. Lee? He asked. Yes, she's wonderful. Thank you. The subsidy will cover 60% of her rate. You didn't have to do that. I know. There was a pause. Zuleika gathered her courage. Can I ask you something? She said. Go ahead. Yesterday, you said Thabo reminded you of someone you lost. Can I ask who? Do-yoon's expression closed off immediately. For a moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he sat down behind his desk and folded his hands. I had a brother, he said quietly. Younger. He died when he was 2 years old. I'm so sorry. It was a long time ago. That doesn't make it easier. He looked at her sharply, like he was surprised she understood. No, it doesn't. Is that why you helped me? Because of him? Partially. Do-yoon picked up a pen, turning it over in his fingers. But also because I know what it's like to be alone when you need someone, and I've learned that small kindnesses matter more than people think. Zuleika felt her throat tighten. Well, your small kindness meant everything to me. Good. Then we're done here. It was clearly a dismissal, but Zuleika didn't move. What? He asked. I want you to know that if there's ever anything I can do to repay you, there isn't. But, Zuleika, he looked directly at her. I didn't help you because I want something in return. I helped you because it was the right thing to do. Accept it and move on. She nodded and stood up. Okay, thank you again. Wait, she turned back. How is he? Thabo. Is he adjusting to Mrs. Lee? The question caught her off guard. He's fine. She sent me a photo an hour ago. He was playing with some toys. Good. Do-yoon turned back to his computer. You can go. Zuleika left, feeling even more confused than before. This man made no sense. Cold one moment, almost caring the next. Distant, but asking about her baby. She had no idea that across the city, someone was already watching her, taking photos, making plans. That evening, Zuleika got off the subway and walked the 3 blocks to Mrs. Lee's apartment. The older woman greeted her warmly and handed over a very sleepy Thabo. He's a sweet boy, Mrs. Lee said. Ate well, napped twice, no trouble at all. Thank you so much. Oh, before you go. Mrs. Lee pulled out her phone. A man came by this afternoon, said he was a reporter, asked if I was watching a baby for someone who worked at the Pearl Club. Zuleika's stomach dropped. What did you tell him? Nothing, of course. I don't talk to reporters, but I thought you should know. Mrs. Lee frowned. Is everything all right, dear? Yes, fine. Thank you for telling me. But everything was not fine. As Zuleika walked home, she noticed a man with a camera across the street. He was pointing it in her direction. She held Thabo closer and walked faster. By the time she reached her apartment, her hands were shaking so hard she could barely unlock the door. Inside, she put Thabo in his crib and pulled out her phone. She stared at the business card Do-yoon had given her. Should she call? Tell him about the reporter? Before she could decide, her phone buzzed with a text from Minji. Check social media. Now. Zoleka opened Instagram with a feeling of dread. The first post that came up made her blood run cold. It was a photo of Do-yoon in his office. He was asleep on the sofa. And on his chest, clearly visible, was a baby. Her baby. The caption read, "Breaking. Baek Do-yoon's secret child. Mystery woman revealed to be Pearl Club employee. Full story coming soon." The post already had 3,000 likes. Zoleka's phone started ringing immediately. Unknown numbers, one after another. She turned it off and sat down on the floor, trying to breathe. How did someone get that photo? Who was in the office? Who would... Another thought hit her. Do-yoon. He must have seen this by now. He was probably furious. This was exactly the kind of scandal that could ruin his reputation. And it was all her fault. She looked at Thabo, sleeping peacefully in his crib, completely unaware that their lives had just been turned upside down. Tomorrow, she would have to face Do-yoon. Face the questions. Face whatever consequences came next. But tonight, all she could do was hold her baby and wonder how everything had gone so wrong so fast. She had no idea that tomorrow would bring even bigger shocks, and that the photo was only the beginning. Zoleka didn't sleep at all that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that photo. Do-yoon asleep with Thabo on his chest. 3,000 likes. No, she'd checked again an hour ago. 7,000 now. By morning, it was everywhere. Her phone had 43 missed calls when she turned it back on. Texts from numbers she didn't recognize. Even an email from someone claiming to be a journalist who wanted to hear her side of the story. Her side of what story? There was no story. Just a desperate mother and a kind stranger who helped her for one afternoon. Except now, the entire internet thought they were having a secret relationship. Zoleka fed Thabo with shaking hands and got ready for work. Maybe she shouldn't go. Maybe she should just quit and save everyone the trouble. But she needed this job, needed the money, and somehow she needed to apologize to Do-yoon for the mess she'd caused. Mrs. Lee was waiting at her door when Zoleka arrived with Thabo. "I saw the news," Mrs. Lee said quietly. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." "The reporters, they're saying..." "I know what they're saying. It's not true." Mrs. Lee studied her face, then nodded. "I believe you. Don't worry about this one." She took Thabo gently. "Focus on work. Handle what you need to handle." Zoleka wanted to hug her, but settled for a grateful smile instead. The subway ride was a nightmare. 3 people recognized her. One woman actually took a photo. Zoleka kept her head down and tried to disappear into her coat. When she arrived at the Pearl Club, there were reporters outside. Actual reporters, with cameras. "Miss, are you Zoleka Madonsela? How long have you been seeing Baek Do-yoon? Is the baby his? Did you trap him into a relationship?" Zoleka pushed through them without answering and practically ran through the staff entrance. Inside, the kitchen staff stopped talking the moment they saw her. The silence was deafening. Manager Choi appeared immediately. "My office. Now." She followed him, feeling like she was walking to her own execution. He closed the door and turned to face her. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" His voice was shaking with anger. "There are reporters outside. Our clients are calling asking questions. This is a disaster." "I didn't do anything. Someone took that photo without permission. I don't know who or how. I don't care about the photo. I care about the fact that you brought a baby to work and somehow ended up in Mr. Beck's private office with him. What were you thinking? I was thinking I needed to keep my job and feed my son. Well, congratulations. You've made yourself and this entire establishment a laughingstock. I'm sorry. I really am. If you want me to quit, you think you get to decide that? Mr. Beck wants to see you. Now. And I suggest you prepare yourself because I've never seen him this angry. Zuleika's stomach twisted into knots. She climbed the stairs to Do-yoon's office, each step harder than the last. When she reached his door, she took a deep breath and knocked. Come in. He was standing with his back to her, looking out the window. His shoulders were tense. Sit down, he said without turning around. She sat. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stood there, silent and still. I'm sorry, Zuleika started. I don't know how someone got that photo. I don't know who would. It was the cleaning staff. His voice was flat. She came in to empty the trash, saw us, took the photo, sold it to a gossip site for 2 million won. 2 million? She's been fired, but the damage is done. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. If I hadn't brought Thabo here, if I hadn't— Stop. Do-yoon finally turned around. His face was unreadable. This isn't your fault. But you did what you had to do to survive. She chose to violate privacy for money. Those are not the same thing. Zuleika blinked. You're not angry at me. I'm angry at the situation, not at you. He walked to his desk and sat down. But we have a problem. I know. The reporters are the least of it. My father called this morning. So did the board of directors. They want answers. What did you tell them? The truth. That I helped an employee with a childcare emergency. That there's nothing else to it. Did they believe you? No. Do-yoon leaned back in his chair. Because apparently, I've never helped anyone with anything in my entire life. So the fact that I spent 3 hours watching a baby is, according to my father, proof that something else is going on. What does he think is going on? He thinks you are either blackmailing me or I've lost my mind. Do-yoon's expression was grim. Possibly both. Despite everything, Zuleika almost laughed. That's ridiculous. Welcome to my family. There was a knock at the door. Secretary Kim entered without waiting for a response. Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a situation. What kind of situation? Han Seo-jin is downstairs. She's demanding to speak with you. Do-yoon's jaw tightened. Tell her I'm busy. I did. She says she'll wait. Then let her wait. Secretary Kim hesitated. Sir, she brought her father. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Do-yoon stood up slowly. Fine. Send them to the private dining room. I'll be down in 5 minutes. He waited until Secretary Kim left, then looked at Zuleika. You should go. Who's Han Seo-jin? Someone I was supposed to marry. Zuleika's eyes widened. You're engaged? No. But our families had an arrangement. One I never agreed to. He moved toward the door. Go back to work. Keep your head down. Don't talk to any reporters. What are you going to tell her? The truth. That this is none of her business. He left before Zuleika could respond. She sat there for a moment, processing everything. Do-yoon had been expected to marry someone. Someone who was downstairs right now, probably furious about the photos. This was getting worse by the minute. Zuleika went back downstairs and tried to focus on work, but every few minutes, she found herself glancing toward the private dining room. The door was closed. She couldn't hear anything. Minji appeared beside her, carrying a tray of glasses. Did you see her? Minji whispered. See who? Han Seo-jin. She's beautiful. Like model beautiful. And rich. Her father owns half the tech companies in Korea. Good for her. She's been planning to marry Mr. Bike since they were kids. Everyone knows it. And now, because of those photos, she probably thinks you're trying to steal him. I'm not trying to steal anyone. There's nothing between us. Try telling her that." At that moment, the dining room door opened. A woman stepped out. Minji was right. She was beautiful, tall and elegant, wearing clothes that probably cost more than Zuleka made in 6 months. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was perfect. Everything about her screamed wealth and power. Han Seo-jin's eyes scanned the room and landed directly on Zuleka. She walked over slowly, deliberately. Everyone in the restaurant was watching. "You must be Zuleka," Seo-jin said. Her voice was sweet, but her eyes were ice cold. "Yes, I'm Han Seo-jin, Do-yoon's fiancé." He said there was no engagement. Seo-jin smiled. "Is that what he told you? How sweet. He's always been private about our relationship." She looked Zuleka up and down. "I saw the photos. Very clever." "I don't know what you mean." "Of course you don't." Seo-jin's smile never wavered. "Let me be clear. I don't know what game you're playing, but it won't work. Do-yoon and I have history, family ties, a future together. You're a waitress with a baby. Do you really think you stand a chance?" Zuleka felt her face heat up. "I'm not playing any game, and I'm not trying to stand a chance at anything. I work here, that's all. Then you won't mind staying away from him. I don't go near him. He came to me. Because you put yourself in a position where he had no choice but to help. Very calculated. I was desperate. There's a difference." "Is there?" Seo-jin leaned closer. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to quit this job. You're going to leave Seoul, and you're going to delete every photo, every contact, every connection you have to Do-yoon. In return, I'll make sure you receive enough money to support yourself and your baby for the next year. Somewhere far away from here." Zuleka stared at her. "Are you seriously trying to bribe me to leave town? I'm offering you a solution that benefits everyone. Everyone except me. You get money. That's more than you have now. I also have dignity, and a job I earned. I'm not leaving." Seo-jin's smile finally faded. "You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make." For a moment, Seo-jin looked like she wanted to say more. Then she turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the floor. Zuleka's hands were shaking. She grabbed the edge of a table to steady herself. Minji rushed over. "Oh my God, did she just threaten you?" "She tried to pay me to leave Seoul." "What did you say?" "I said no." Minji's eyes went wide. "You said no to Han Seo-jin. Do you have any idea how powerful her family is?" "I don't care how powerful they are. I'm not going anywhere." But as Zuleka went back to work, she couldn't shake the cold feeling in her stomach. She just made an enemy of one of the most powerful women in Seoul. And something told her Seo-jin wasn't used to hearing the word. The rest of the day passed in a blur of whispers and stares. Every customer seemed to know who she was. Every coworker had an opinion. At 3 o'clock, Do-yoon came downstairs. He didn't look at anyone, just walked straight to the exit. But as he passed Zuleka's station, he stopped. "My office. Tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock. Then he was gone. Zuleka finished her shift and picked up Thabo from Mrs. Lee. The older woman handed her the baby, along with a concerned look. "More reporters came by today," Mrs. Lee said. "I didn't answer the door, but they left business cards. I'm so sorry you're being dragged into this. Don't apologize, just be careful. These people, they don't care who they hurt to get their story." That night, Zuleka sat on her apartment floor with Thabo, scrolling through her phone. The photo had been shared thousands of times now. The comments were brutal. "Gold digger. She trapped him with a baby. Probably lying about everything. He can do so much better. Some were even worse. Comments about her race, her appearance, her worth as a person. Zuleika forced herself to stop reading. She looked at Thabo, who was chewing on his favorite toy and babbling happily. "What did we get ourselves into?" she whispered. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello? Miss Madoncella, this is Huang Min-jae from Seoul Daily News. I'd like to ask you a few questions about your relationship with Baek Do-yoon." "There is no relationship." "Then how do you explain the photo?" "He was helping me with a childcare emergency, that's all." "So you're saying the baby isn't his?" "The baby is mine. Only mine." "Then who's the father?" "That's none of your business." "People are saying you're using the baby to manipulate Baek Do-yoon. Would you like to respond to that?" Zuleika hung up. 2 minutes later, another call. Different number, same questions. She turned off her phone. "Quick question for you guys watching. What would you do if you were in Zuleika's position right now? Would you quit and take the money, or would you stand your ground?" Let me know in the comments because honestly, I don't know if she's being brave or just stubborn. Either way, things are about to get even more complicated. The next morning, Zuleika arrived at the Pearl Club at 7:45. The reporters were still outside, but there were security guards now, keeping them back. She made it to Do-yoon's office at exactly 8 o'clock. "Come in," he called when she knocked. He was already at his desk, looking like he hadn't slept. There were papers everywhere, and his computer screen showed what looked like financial reports. "Sit," he said. She sat. Do-yoon closed his laptop and looked at her directly. "We need to talk about how to handle this situation." "Okay. My PR team wants me to make a statement. Deny everything. Make it clear there's nothing between us." "That makes sense. The problem is, if I do that, the media will turn on you completely. They'll paint you as a liar who fabricated the whole thing for attention. Your life will become unbearable." Zuleika hadn't thought of that. "What's the alternative?" "We say nothing. Let the story die on its own." "Will it die on its own?" "Eventually, if we don't feed it." Do-yoon leaned forward. "But in the meantime, the pressure will be intense, on both of us." "I can handle pressure." "Can you?" "Because Han Seo-jian visited you yesterday. I heard about the conversation." "How did you?" "I hear about everything that happens in this building." His eyes were serious. "She threatened you. Tried to bribe you to leave. I said no." "I know." Which was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Seo-jin isn't used to being told no. She'll escalate. "Let her." "You don't understand. Her family has resources, connections. They can make your life very difficult." "More difficult than it already is?" Do-yoon was quiet for a moment. "Fair point." "Can I ask you something?" Zuleika said. "Go ahead." "Why didn't you just deny it immediately, when the photo first came out? You could have said I was some random employee, that the baby meant nothing to you. You could have protected yourself." "I could have. So why didn't you?" He looked away toward the window. "Because it felt wrong. You were already vulnerable, already struggling. Throwing you to the wolves to protect my reputation felt like something my father would do. And I've spent most of my life trying not to be like him." Zuleika felt something warm spread through her chest. That's really decent of you." "Decent doesn't pay bills. If you want to quit and take Seo-jin's offer, I'll understand. I'm not quitting, even though staying might make everything harder." "Even though." Do-yoon studied her face. "Why?" "Because I'm tired of running. I've been running since I got pregnant. Running from judgment, from my family's disappointment, from everyone who said I made a mistake. I'm done running." She met his eyes. "And because you were kind to me when no one else was, I'm not going to repay that by abandoning you when things get tough." For a long moment, he said nothing. Just looked at her, like he was seeing her for the first time. "All right," he finally said. "Then we do this together. We ignore the noise. We keep working. We let them talk until they run out of things to say." "Together," Zoleka repeated. "But there are rules. You don't talk to reporters. You don't respond to comments online. You don't engage with anyone who tries to provoke you. I can do that. And if anyone threatens you or Thabo, you tell me immediately. Why would anyone threaten? Just promise me." There was something intense in his voice, something that made her think he knew more than he was saying. "I promise," she said quietly. Doyoon nodded and stood up. "Good. Now go to work, and try to ignore Manager Choi. He's upset about the publicity, but he won't fire you. I've made that clear." Zoleka stood as well. At the door, she paused. "Doyoon?" He looked up. "Thank you. For not throwing me to the wolves." His expression softened slightly. "Thank you for not running." She left the office feeling lighter than she had in days, but as she walked down the stairs, she had no idea that across the city, Han Seo-jin was making phone calls, pulling strings, setting plans in motion, and that by tomorrow, everything would change again. That afternoon, Zoleka was clearing tables when her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Lee. "Someone came to my door, man in a suit, asked a lot of questions about you and the baby. Wouldn't say who he was working for. I didn't tell him anything." Zoleka's blood ran cold. Another text came through immediately after. "He left this card." The photo Mrs. Lee sent showed a business card. "Private investigator." Someone was digging into her past. Zoleka immediately went upstairs and knocked on Doyoon's door. "Come in." She showed him the texts without saying a word. His face darkened as he read them. "When did this happen?" "An hour ago." Doyoon pulled out his phone and made a call. "Secretary Kim, I need you to find out who hired a private investigator to look into Zoleka Madonsela. I want a name by end of day." He paused. "I don't care what it costs. Find out." He hung up and looked at Zoleka. "I'm sorry," he said. "This is escalating faster than I thought." "Who would hire an investigator?" "Could be anyone. SEO Jin, my father. Business rivals looking for leverage. The media." He ran a hand through his hair. "I'll handle this." "How?" "By making it very clear that you're under my protection, and that anyone who comes after you is coming after me. That'll just make the rumors worse. I don't care about rumors anymore." Doyoon's voice was firm. "I care about keeping you and Thabo safe." The way he said it, the certainty in his voice, made Zoleka's heart skip. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why do you care so much?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Because for the first time in years, I feel like I'm doing something that actually matters. Not business deals, or family obligations, or maintaining an image. Just helping someone who needs it. And being around Thabo, around you, it reminds me that there's more to life than the cold, empty existence I've been living." Zoleka didn't know what to say. "Go home early today," Doyoon said quietly. "Stay inside. Lock your doors. I'll have someone watch your building tonight." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." She nodded and left, her mind spinning. When she picked up Thabo from Mrs. Lee, the older woman pulled her aside. "That man, the investigator, he asked about Thabo's father, about when you came to Korea, about your money situation." Mrs. Lee's face was worried. "What are they looking for?" "I don't know," Zoleka admitted. "But whatever it is, I haven't done anything wrong." "I know you haven't. But sometimes that doesn't matter to people like this." Zoleka went home and locked every door and window. She fed Thabo, gave him a bath, and put him to bed. Then she sat in the dark, watching the street below. Sure enough, there was a black car parked across from her building. Someone was watching. It should have scared her. Instead, she felt oddly comforted. Do-yoon had kept his word? Her phone buzzed. Text from Secretary Kim. The investigator was hired by Han Seo-jin. Mr. Bayek is handling it. Zuleika stared at the message. Seo-jin really wasn't backing down. Another text came through, this time from Do-yoon himself. Are you and Thabo safe? Yes. Thank you for the security. It'll stay there until this is resolved. Try to get some sleep. Zuleika looked at the message for a long time before responding. Why are you doing all this? The reply came quickly. Because you stood up to Seo-jin. Because you refused to run. Because you're stronger than you think. And because I'm starting to realize that maybe I've been waiting my whole life for someone who doesn't want anything from me except honesty. Zuleika read the message 3 times, her heart pounding. She started typing a response, then deleted it. Started again. Deleted again. Finally, she just sent. Thank you. But what she wanted to say was so much more. She wanted to say that he made her feel seen, that his kindness had cracked something open inside her that she'd kept locked away for months. That when he talked about his brother, when he held Thabo, when he looked at her like she mattered, she felt something she hadn't felt since before she got pregnant. Hope, connection, maybe even the beginning of something deeper. But it was too soon, too complicated, too dangerous to even think about. So she put her phone away and went to bed, and dreamed of dark eyes and gentle hands, and a man who was nothing like what people said he was. She had no idea that tomorrow a secret from her past would surface, one that would change everything. Zuleika woke up to pounding on her door. For a confused moment, she thought she was dreaming. Then the pounding came again, louder this time. She grabbed her phone. 6 in the morning. Zuleika, it's Secretary Kim. Please open the door. She wrapped her robe around herself and checked the peephole. Secretary Kim was there, along with 2 men in suits she didn't recognize. She opened the door a crack. What's happening? We need to move you, now. Move me where? Why? Because someone leaked your address online an hour ago. There are reporters on their way here right now. As if on cue, Zuleika heard shouting from the street below. She looked out her window and saw vans pulling up. People with cameras were climbing out. You have 5 minutes to pack essentials, Secretary Kim said. Clothes for you and the baby. Important documents. Everything else can be retrieved later. I don't understand. Who leaked? We'll explain everything. But right now, we need to go. Zuleika's hands were shaking as she threw clothes into a bag. Thabo was starting to wake up, making small noises from his crib. She grabbed diapers, formula, his favorite blanket. Her mind wasn't working right. What else did she need? What was she forgetting? 2 minutes, one of the suited men called from the doorway. She scooped up Thabo, still in his pajamas, and grabbed her bag. Secretary Kim took the bag from her and guided her toward the back stairwell. There's a service exit, he explained. Cars waiting. They made it down 3 floors before Zuleika heard voices in the main stairwell. The reporters had gotten into the building. Faster, Secretary Kim urged. They burst out into the alley behind the building. A black car was idling there, back door open. Zuleika climbed in with Thabo, and Secretary Kim slid in beside her. The suited men got in front, and the car took off immediately. Thabo started crying. Zuleika tried to comfort him while her heart raced. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere safe, Secretary Kim replied. Mr. Bayek's orders. Is he angry about this? Secretary Kim actually laughed, though there was no humor in it. Angry doesn't begin to cover it. He's currently tearing apart his security team trying to figure out who leaked your information. And then he's going after whoever hired them. It was Seo-jin, wasn't it? We don't have proof yet. But yes, almost certainly. The car drove for 20 minutes, leaving the city center and heading into a quieter neighborhood. Nice apartment buildings, tree-lined streets, the kind of area Zoleka could never afford. They pulled into an underground garage and took an elevator to the 15th floor. The apartment Secretary Kim led her to was beautiful. Spacious living room, modern kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the Han River. It looked like something from a magazine. "This is too much," Zoleka said. "This is necessary," Secretary Kim corrected. "The building has 24-hour security. No one gets in without clearance. You'll be safe here." "For how long?" "As long as needed." He set her bag down. "Mr. Beck will be here within the hour. He wanted me to make sure you were settled first." Secretary Kim showed her around quickly. 2 bedrooms, bathroom, fully stocked kitchen. Then he left, and Zoleka was alone with Thabo in an apartment that probably cost more per month than she made in a year. She fed Thabo and tried to process everything. Her address was online. Reporters knew where she lived. She couldn't go home. Her phone rang. Do-yoon. "Are you all right?" he asked immediately. Yes, we're fine." "But Do-yoon, this is too much. I can't." "You can, and you will. I'm not negotiating on this. I don't even know how long I'll need to stay here. What if this goes on for weeks, months? Then you stay for months. Zoleka, listen to me. Whoever leaked your address put you and Thabo in danger. I'm not taking chances with your safety. This is because of me. Because I brought Thabo to work that day. None of this would be happening if— Stop. This is happening because people are cruel and invasive and think they have a right to your life. You did nothing wrong." His voice softened. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. We need to talk about what the investigator found." "What did they find?" "I'll explain when I get there." He hung up before she could ask more questions. Zoleka spent the next half hour trying to make the apartment feel less foreign. She set up Thabo's portable crib in the 2nd bedroom, put his toys in the living room, made coffee in the fancy machine she barely knew how to use. When Do-yoon arrived, he looked exhausted, like he'd been up all night. "Coffee?" she offered. "Please." They sat at the kitchen counter. Thabo was on a playmat, happily chewing on a stuffed giraffe. "The investigator Seo Jin hired," Do-yoon started. "He did a deep background check on you. Your immigration records, financial history, medical records." Zoleka's stomach turned. "That's legal?" "No, but it happened anyway." Do-yoon pulled out a folder. "He found something interesting. When Thabo was born, your hospital bills were paid by a private trust fund. Do you remember that?" "I remember being confused about it. The hospital said everything was covered, but I didn't understand why. The trust was set up by my mother." Zoleka stared at him. "What?" 3 years ago, my mother established a fund to help single mothers in difficult situations. She personally selected the recipients. Your name was on her list." "But I don't understand. I never met your mother. How would she even know about me?" Do-yoon opened the folder and pulled out a document. "According to the records, someone referred you to her. A doctor at the hospital where you were receiving prenatal care." "Dr. Park?" "Yes." "Do you remember talking to him about your situation?" Zoleka thought back. "I remember. He was kind. Asked if I had family support. I told him I was alone, that the baby's father wasn't involved. He said he might know of some resources that could help. He contacted my mother directly. She met with several women that month, and she chose to help you." "Why?" Do-yoon was quiet for a moment. "My mother. She had strong feelings about family, about protecting children. After my brother died, she spent years trying to make up for it by helping other people's children. This trust fund was part of that." Zoleka felt tears burning her eyes. "I never got to thank her. She died 2 months before Thabo was born. I'm so sorry. The payments continued automatically after her death. The trust was set up to last 5 years for each recipient. Do-yoon looked at her directly. Zuleika, my mother chose to help you. Not because of me. Not because of any connection between us. But because she saw someone who needed help, and she had the power to give it. That's incredibly kind. It also means our connection isn't as random as we thought. There's a thread here. Something that ties our lives together. Before Zuleika could respond, Do-yoon's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his expression darkened. It's my father. I have to take this. He walked to the window. Yes. Zuleika couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she could hear Do-yoon's responses. I'm handling it. Pause. That's not your decision to make. Pause. I don't care what the board thinks. Pause. No, absolutely not. His voice was getting harder, colder. If you try that, I'll resign, and I'll take half your investors with me. Long pause. Then I guess we're at an impasse. He hung up and stood very still for a moment, his back to her. What did he want? Zuleika asked quietly. He wants me to pay you to leave Korea. 500 million won. A visa to any country you want. Full custody paperwork drawn up so Thabo's father can never find you. Do-yoon turned around. In exchange, you disappear and never contact me again. 500 million won? That's almost $500,000. I'm aware. What did you tell him? I told him no. Do-yoon, that's life-changing money. I could give Thabo everything he needs. Education, stability, a real future. You really want to take it? His eyes were intense. You want to run? Zuleika looked at Thabo, then back at Do-yoon. A week ago, I would have, without hesitation. That much money would solve every problem I have. And now? Now I realize money doesn't solve the problem of being alone. And for the first time since I got pregnant, I don't feel alone anymore. Something shifted in Do-yoon's expression. He crossed the room and sat down beside her. My whole life, people have wanted things from me. My name, my money, my connections. You're the first person who seems to want nothing except honesty. He paused. It's terrifying and refreshing at the same time. I do want something, Zuleika admitted. What? I want to understand why you care. You've known me for less than a week. You barely know anything about me. Yet you're fighting your father, dealing with scandal, moving me into a safe apartment. Why? Do-yoon looked at Thabo, who had fallen asleep on the playmat. When my brother died, I was 12 years old. I was supposed to be watching him. I got distracted, and he wandered off. Fell into the pool. His voice was steady, but his hands were clenched. By the time I found him, it was too late. My father blamed me. Said I was irresponsible, careless, that I'd killed my own brother. That's horrible. You were a child. I spent the next 20 years trying to prove I wasn't careless. I became cold, controlled. I never made mistakes. Never let anyone close enough to hurt me or anyone I cared about. I built this perfect, empty life. He looked at her. And then, you walked into my office, terrified and desperate, and I saw myself. The person I was before everything went wrong. Someone just trying to protect what they love. Zuleika's throat was tight. Do-yoon, when I held Thabo that day, it was the first time in 20 years I didn't feel like I was drowning in guilt. Because for those few hours, I was protecting someone instead of failing them. And I realized that's what I want. Not business success or family approval. Just the chance to be the person I should have been. You can't heal yourself by saving me. I know. But maybe we can help each other survive what we're going through. Together. The word hung in the air between them. Together. Zuleika reached out and took his hand. His fingers were warm, solid, real. Together, she repeated quietly. For a moment, they just sat there, hands linked, watching Thabo sleep. Then Do-yoon's phone rang again. He checked it and sighed. It's Secretary Kim. Something else has happened. He answered. What is it? His face went pale as he listened. When? Pause. How did they find him? Pause. Don't let him leave. I'm on my way. He stood up quickly. I have to go. What's wrong? They found Thabo's father. Zuleyka's world tilted. What? The investigator tracked him down. And apparently, now that he knows there's money involved, he wants to meet. No, absolutely not. He gave up any right to Thabo when he abandoned us. I know. But legally, he still has parental rights, unless you can prove he's unfit. Do-yoon grabbed his jacket. I'm going to handle this. Stay here. Don't open the door for anyone except Secretary Kim. I should be there. He's my son, my problem. He stopped being just your problem when I decided to help. Let me do this. Do-yoon's voice was firm but gentle. Trust me. Zuleyka wanted to argue, but the truth was she was terrified of seeing Thabo's father again. The man who'd promised to love her, then disappeared the moment she got pregnant. Okay, she whispered. But call me. Tell me what happens. I will. He left, and Zuleyka was alone with her thoughts and her sleeping baby. She picked up Thabo and held him close, breathing in his baby smell. Whatever happened next, she would protect him, no matter what. An hour passed, then 2. Zuleyka tried to distract herself by organizing the apartment, but her mind kept spinning. What if Thabo's father demanded custody? What if he had rights she couldn't fight? What if Do-yoon couldn't stop him? Her phone finally rang. Do-yoon. What happened? She asked immediately. He's gone. He won't be bothering you again. What did you do? I gave him a choice. Walk away permanently, and sign away all parental rights in exchange for a settlement. Or face a very public lawsuit where I expose every lie he told, every woman he abandoned, every law he broke. He took the settlement. He took the settlement. My lawyers are drawing up the paperwork now. By tomorrow, he'll have no legal claim to Thabo. Zuleyka felt like she could breathe for the first time in hours. How much did you have to pay him? That's not your concern. Do-yoon. Zuleyka, please. Let me do this. I have more money than I'll ever use. Let me use it for something that actually matters. She didn't know what to say. This man, this virtual stranger, had just bought her freedom from her past. Thank you, she finally managed. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to repay me. Just stay. Don't let my father or Seo Jin or anyone else scare you away. I won't. Good. I'll be there in an hour with dinner. Real food, not instant noodles. Despite everything, Zuleyka smiled. How did you know I live on instant noodles? Lucky guess. He hung up, and Zuleyka sat down, feeling lighter than she had in months. Thabo's father was gone. Really, truly gone. She didn't have to look over her shoulder anymore. Didn't have to worry about him showing up and demanding rights he hadn't earned. She was free. When Do-yoon returned, he brought bags of food from an expensive restaurant. They ate at the counter, while Thabo sat in a borrowed high chair, making a mess with mashed vegetables. He's got food in his hair, Do-yoon observed. That's basically his permanent state. Wait until he discovers spaghetti. Do-yoon smiled, actually smiled, and Zuleyka's heart did a strange flip. What? He asked, noticing her stare. Nothing. Just, you should smile more. It's nice. He looked away, almost shy. I don't have much practice. Well, you can practice here. Safe space. No judgment. They fell into comfortable silence, eating and watching Thabo. It felt domestic, normal, like they were a real family instead of two people thrown together by circumstances. Can I ask you something personal? Zuleyka said. Haven't all your questions been personal? Fair point. This one's worse, though. Now I'm concerned. Do you ever think about having kids? Like your own? Do-yoon set down his fork. I used to, before my brother died. After, I convinced myself I shouldn't, that I'd failed him the way I failed him. That's not fair to yourself. Maybe not. But it's how I felt. He looked at Thabo. Being around him, though, it makes me wonder if maybe I was wrong. You're good with him. Natural. I'm terrified I'll mess up. Welcome to parenting. That's literally the whole experience. Do-yoon laughed. A real laugh this time, and Zoleka felt warmth spread through her chest. This was dangerous territory. She was starting to feel things she had no right to feel. This man wasn't hers. This situation was temporary. Once the scandal died down, they'd both go back to their separate lives. But sitting here, watching him make silly faces at her baby, she couldn't help wondering what if. What if this wasn't temporary? What if they could build something real? Her phone buzzed, breaking the moment. Text from an unknown number. She opened it, and immediately wished she hadn't. It was a photo of her and Do-yoon through the apartment window, taken from another building. The caption read, "Cozy new home. Wonder who's paying for it." "What's wrong?" Do-yoon asked, seeing her face. She showed him the phone. His expression went dark. "They found you already? How is that possible? This building is supposed to be secure. Someone with a telephoto lens from the building across the street." Do-yoon stood up and closed all the curtains. "I'll have security check every building in the area, find out who took that photo. This is never going to end, is it? They're always going to be watching. Not if I have anything to say about it." Do-yoon pulled out his phone and made a call. "I need to move up the timeline. Tomorrow morning. Yes, I'm sure." "Move up what timeline?" Zoleka asked when he hung up. "I was planning to wait another week, but we're out of time. Tomorrow, I'm holding a press conference." "To say what?" "The truth. That Han Seo-jin has been harassing you. That private investigators violated your privacy. That the media has turned your life into a circus based on one innocent photo." His eyes were fierce. "And that anyone who continues to target you will be facing legal action from me personally. That'll make you look like you're protecting me. It'll confirm everyone's suspicions. I don't care anymore. Let them think whatever they want. I'm done watching people hurt you because they're curious, or vindictive, or bored. Do-yoon, you can't go to war with the media for me. Your reputation, my reputation is built on fear and distance. Maybe it's time I built something better. Something based on actually standing up for what's right." Zoleka felt tears prick her eyes. "You barely know me. Why would you risk everything?" He crossed the room and knelt down in front of her chair, taking her hands. "Because in 1 week, you've shown me more genuine courage than I've seen in 30 years of business deals and family politics. Because you stood up to Seo-jin when most people won't even make eye contact with her. Because you're raising a child alone in a foreign country, and you never once asked for pity or handouts." He squeezed her hands gently. "And because, when I'm with you and Thabo, I feel like the person I was supposed to be before life beat it out of me." A tear rolled down Zoleka's cheek. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll trust me. Say you'll let me help. Say you won't disappear. I trust you, and I'm not going anywhere." Do-yoon reached up and wiped the tear from her face. His hand lingered on her cheek, and for a moment, Zoleka thought he might kiss her. Instead, he stood up and stepped back. "I should go. Let you and Thabo rest. Tomorrow's going to be intense." "Okay." He gathered his things and headed for the door, but he paused before leaving. "Zoleka." "Yes?" "Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever the media says or how people react, just remember, you're not alone anymore. Neither of us are. Then he was gone, and Zuleika was left in the quiet apartment with her sleeping baby and a heart that was doing very complicated things. She got ready for bed, but sleep wouldn't come. Her mind kept replaying the conversation. The way he'd looked at her, the gentle touch on her cheek. She was falling for him. Despite every reasonable objection, despite knowing it was probably a terrible idea, she was falling for Baek Do-yoon. And tomorrow, he was going to face the entire Seoul media on her behalf. Zuleika picked up her phone and sent a text. "Be careful tomorrow, please." His response came immediately. "Always. Sleep well." She put her phone down and finally closed her eyes. But across the city, in a luxury penthouse, Han Seo-jin was making plans of her own. She'd lost the first few rounds. The bribery failed. The investigator got caught. Do-yoon was defending this nobody waitress like she actually mattered. But Seo-jin hadn't gotten where she was by accepting defeat. If Do-yoon wanted to make this public, fine. She'd make it public too. And by the time she was done, Zuleika Madonsela would wish she'd never set foot in Seoul. The real war was just beginning. The press conference was scheduled for 10 in the morning. Zuleika watched it live on her phone, sitting on the apartment floor with Thabo playing beside her. Her stomach was in knots. Do-yoon sat behind a table, facing at least 30 reporters. Camera flashes went off like lightning. He looked calm, composed, every inch the powerful businessman the world expected. Secretary Kim stood beside him, and behind them were 2 lawyers. "Thank you for coming," Do-yoon started. His voice was steady. "I'm here to address the recent speculation about my personal life, specifically the photographs that have been circulating online." The reporters leaned forward, hungry for details. "The woman in those photos is Zuleika Madonsela. She works at the Pearl Club, which I own. The baby is her son, Thabo. They are not related to me by blood or by any romantic connection." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "However," Do-yoon continued, his voice getting harder, "Ms. Madonsela has become the target of harassment, invasion of privacy, and threats. Her home address was leaked online. Private investigators violated her medical records. She and her infant son have been stalked by photographers." A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Baek, if there's no relationship, why are you protecting her?" "Because it's the right thing to do. Because she did nothing wrong except exist in the same space as me. And because I'm tired of watching innocent people get destroyed by gossip and greed." Another reporter spoke up. "Are you denying that you have feelings for her?" Do-yoon paused. Zuleika's breath caught. "My feelings are irrelevant. What matters is that a single mother trying to survive has been treated like a criminal. What matters is that a child's safety has been compromised for entertainment. What matters is that we, as a society, have decided that curiosity justifies cruelty. Is it true that Han Seo-jin hired an investigator to dig into Ms. Madonsela's past?" Another reporter called out. "I have evidence that suggests yes. My lawyers are currently reviewing options for legal action." The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions over each other. Do-yoon raised a hand for silence. "One more thing. To anyone who continues to harass Ms. Madonsela or her son, you will be hearing from my legal team. To any publication that prints lies about her, you will face defamation lawsuits. And to anyone who thinks they can use her to get to me, understand this clearly. You can't. Because I will spend every resource I have protecting her." He stood up. "That's all. No further questions." The reporters exploded with noise, but Do-yoon walked out without looking back. Zuleika stared at her phone screen, her heart racing. He'd just declared war on half of Seoul's media. For her phone rang. Do-yoon. "Did you watch?" he asked. every second. Do-yoon, what you just did was necessary. How are you holding up? I don't even know. Scared, grateful, confused. That's fair. Listen, I'm coming over. We need to talk about next steps. Okay. He arrived 30 minutes later, still in his suit from the press conference. He looked exhausted but also energized, like he'd just finished a battle. How bad is the reaction? Zuleyka asked. Mixed. Some outlets are praising me for standing up to media harassment. Others are saying I've confirmed the relationship by defending you so strongly. He loosened his tie. My father called 6 times. I haven't answered. You should talk to him. Eventually. Right now, I need to make sure you're safe. Secretary Kim is monitoring social media and news sites. If anything escalates, we'll know immediately. Thabo crawled over to Do-yoon and pulled himself up using Do-yoon's leg. He looked up with a huge smile. Hey, little man, Do-yoon said softly, picking him up. You have no idea what chaos you caused, do you? Thabo just laughed and grabbed Do-yoon's nose. Zuleyka watched them together, and her chest felt tight. This was becoming too real, too domestic, too much like something she could actually want. Do-yoon, she started carefully. What happens after this? After. The media moves on to the next story. What happens to us? He looked at her over Thabo's head. What do you want to happen? I don't know. A week ago, my biggest problem was finding childcare. Now I'm living in a luxury apartment. My ex signed away his rights, and you're fighting the entire city on my behalf. I don't know what's real anymore. This is real. Do-yoon shifted Thabo to one arm and reached for her hand with the other. Whatever else is happening, whatever the media says or doesn't say, this connection we have, it's real. Before Zuleyka could respond, Do-yoon's phone started ringing. He glanced at the screen and frowned. It's Secretary Kim. He wouldn't call unless it was urgent, he answered. What is it? Zuleyka watched his expression change from calm to shocked to furious in the span of 10 seconds. When did this air? Pause. How did she get that information? Pause. I'm on my way. He hung up and carefully handed Thabo back to Zuleyka. What happened? She asked. Hanseo Jin just held her own press conference. She's claiming that you deliberately got pregnant to trap a wealthy man, that you've done this before in South Africa, that you're a con artist who targets successful businessmen. Zuleyka felt like she'd been slapped. That's insane. None of that is true. I know. But she has documents. Fake documents, obviously. But convincing enough that people are already spreading the story. What kind of documents? Police reports, court filings, all fabricated. But they look real. She's accusing you of fraud, extortion, illegal immigration. Do-yoon's voice was shaking with rage. She's trying to get you deported. The room spun. Zuleyka sat down hard on the couch. Can she do that? Can she actually get me deported? Not if the documents are fake, which they are. But the process of proving that will take time. And in the meantime, your reputation is destroyed. Do-yoon started pacing. This is my fault. I pushed too hard at the press conference. I made her desperate. What do? We fight back. My lawyers are already working on it. We'll prove the documents are fake, sue her for defamation, and... His phone rang again. This time, the name on the screen made him freeze. It's my father, he said quietly. Answer it. You have to. Do-yoon took a deep breath and answered. Father. Even from across the room, Zuleyka could hear the shouting. Do-yoon's father was furious, his voice loud enough to carry. Do-yoon listened in silence for almost a full minute. Then he said, very calmly, No. More shouting. I said no. I don't care what the board wants. I don't care what our family name looks like. I'm not abandoning her. A pause. Then Do-yoon's voice got even quieter, which somehow made it more intense. You want to know why? Because 20 years ago, when I needed someone to believe in me after my brother died, you called me a killer. You said I was worthless, that I'd destroyed our family, and I spent 2 decades trying to prove you wrong, trying to be perfect, trying to earn back your approval. His hand was clenched around the phone. I'm done. I'm done sacrificing my humanity for your approval. Zuleika needs help, and I'm going to help her, whether you like it or not. He hung up. The silence that followed was deafening. Zuleika stood up, still holding Thabo. Do-yoon, I need to go handle the legal situation. Will you be okay here for a few hours? Yes, but I'll have security doubled. No one gets near this building. He grabbed his jacket. Lock the doors. Don't go online. Don't read the news. Just stay safe. He left before she could say anything else. Zuleika spent the next 3 hours trying not to panic. She fed Thabo, played with him, gave him a bath. Normal mom things. But her mind was racing. Fake documents, deportation. Han Seo-jin was playing for keeps now. Her phone buzzed constantly. Messages from numbers she didn't know. Most of them were hateful. Some were from reporters asking for her side of the story. A few were from people offering support, but those were drowned out by the cruelty. She finally turned off her phone. At 6 in the evening, someone knocked on the door. Zuleika checked the peephole and saw Secretary Kim. She opened the door. Is Do-yoon okay? He's fine. Busy, but fine. I came to bring you this. Secretary Kim handed her a folder. The legal team wanted you to see it before it goes public. Zuleika opened the folder. Inside were documents proving Han Seo-jin's papers were fake. Timestamps showing when they were created. Digital fingerprints tracing them back to a company Seo-jin's family owned. Bank records showing payments to the person who fabricated them. This proves she lied, Zuleika said. Completely. We're releasing it to the media in 1 hour. By tomorrow morning, Han Seo-jin will be the one facing legal consequences. Where's Do-yoon now? Meeting with his father. I thought he hung up on him. He did. But his father showed up at the office an hour ago, demanded to talk face to face. Secretary Kim smiled slightly. Between you and me, I think the old man is finally realizing his son has a spine. After Secretary Kim left, Zuleika sat with the folder, staring at the evidence. This would clear her name, prove she wasn't a con artist. But it would also escalate things with Seo-jin even further. She was so lost in thought that she didn't hear the door open. You shouldn't leave the door unlocked, a voice said. Zuleika spun around. An elderly man stood in the entrance. Expensive suit, hard eyes, the same sharp features as Do-yoon, his father. How did you get in here? Zuleika demanded, standing up. I own 40% of this building. Security let me through. He looked around the apartment, then at Thabo playing on the floor. So this is the child everyone is talking about. You need to leave. I need to understand what kind of hold you have over my son. I don't have any hold over him. He's helping me because he's a good person, something you apparently don't understand. Beck Chairman's eyebrows rose. You have courage. I'll give you that. Is that what you came here to say? No. I came to offer you the same thing I offered my son. Money to disappear, but double the amount. 1 billion won. Enough to raise your child anywhere in the world. All you have to do is leave Korea and never contact Do-yoon again. Zuleika crossed her arms. He already told you I won't take it. That was before Han Seo-jin destroyed your reputation, before the deportation threats, before your face was plastered all over the news as a criminal. He pulled out a check, already filled out. This is your way out. Take it. No. You're really willing to drag my son through this scandal, ruin his career, destroy everything he's built? I'm not dragging him anywhere. He chose to help me. He chose to stand up to the media. He chose to face you. Those were his choices. Because you manipulated him. Because your son is finally becoming the person he was supposed to be before you spent 20 years crushing his spirit. Zuleika's voice was shaking now, but she didn't care. He told me what you said to him after his brother died. That he was a killer, that he destroyed your family. He was 12 years old, and you blamed him for an accident. The chairman's face went pale. Do-yoon spent his whole life trying to earn back your love, trying to be perfect. And you know what? He is perfect. Not because he's cold, or successful, or obedient, but because despite everything you put him through, he still has the capacity to care about people, to help them, to be kind. Tears were running down Zuleika's face now. So no, I won't take your money, because your son deserves better than a father who thinks love can be bought and sold. For a long moment, the chairman just stared at her. Then he looked at Thabo, who had crawled over and was pulling himself up using the coffee table. He looks like my youngest son did, the chairman said quietly. Same eyes, same smile. Zuleika wiped her face. Do-yoon told me about him. Did he tell you it was my fault? That I was on a phone call, too busy with work to watch my own children? That Do-yoon tried to stop his brother from going near the pool, but he wasn't strong enough? The chairman's voice cracked. Did he tell you that I blamed him because I couldn't face my own guilt? No. He still thinks it was his fault. I know. And I let him think that for 20 years, because it was easier than admitting the truth. The chairman sat down heavily on the couch. My wife tried to tell me, before she died. She said I was destroying our remaining son to protect myself from grief. I didn't listen. Zuleika didn't know what to say. She set up that trust fund for you, the chairman continued. I found her notes after she passed. She wrote that she'd met a young woman who reminded her of herself at that age. Alone, scared, but determined to do right by her child. She wanted to help you the way she wished someone had helped her. Your wife sounds like an incredible person. She was. And I failed her too. He looked at Zuleika directly. I came here to pay you off, to protect my son from scandal. But the truth is, you're the first person who's made him happy in years. The first person who's made him remember he's human, not just a business asset. I care about him, Zuleika admitted quietly. I didn't mean to. It just happened. Does he know? I don't think so. The chairman actually smiled, though it was sad. He knows. He's just scared to believe it. Before Zuleika could respond, the door opened again. Do-yoon walked in and froze when he saw his father. What are you doing here? Do-yoon demanded. Talking to Ms. Madonsela. She's quite impressive. The chairman stood up. I came to bribe her. She refused. Then she told me a few truths I needed to hear. Father. No, let me finish. I blamed you for your brother's death because I couldn't face my own failure. I pushed you to be perfect because I couldn't accept my own imperfection. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for 20 years of making you feel like you had to earn my love. Do-yoon looked stunned. Zuleika had never seen him at a loss for words. I don't expect you to forgive me, the chairman continued. But I want you to know that I was wrong. About everything, including her. He nodded toward Zuleika. She's good for you. Don't let her go. He walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and the board voted. They're backing your decision to pursue legal action against Han Seo-jin. Apparently, several of them have daughters, and they appreciated your press conference. Something about men actually standing up for women for once. Then he left, and Do-yoon and Zuleika were alone. Well, almost alone. Thabo crawled over to Do-yoon and made grabby hands. Do-yoon picked him up automatically, still looking dazed. Did my father just apologize to me? Yes. And compliment you? Also, yes. I think I'm in shock. Zuleika laughed, and the tension broke. Do-yoon sat down on the couch, Thabo in his lap, and just breathed. Secretary Kim told me about the evidence, Zoleka said, sitting beside him. About exposing Seo Jin. It goes public in 20 minutes. By morning, she'll be facing fraud charges, defamation lawsuits, and possibly jail time. Will she really go to jail? Depends on how good her lawyers are. But her reputation is finished. No one will trust her again. I almost feel sorry for her. Do-yoon looked at her in disbelief. She tried to destroy you. I know. But she's probably been pushed her whole life too. Expected to marry you, expected to be perfect, expected to win at all costs. We're not that different, really. You are completely different. She chose cruelty. You chose courage. Zoleka felt her cheeks warm. You give me too much credit. I don't give you nearly enough. Do-yoon shifted Thabo to one arm and turned to face her. Zoleka, I need to tell you something. Her heart started racing. Okay. This past week has been chaos, scandal, and legal battles, and family drama. But through all of it, the only time I felt calm was when I was with you. When I was here, with you and Thabo, everything else just faded away. Do-yoon, let me finish. I know this is complicated. I know we barely know each other. I know the timing is terrible and the circumstances are insane. But I can't keep pretending I'm just helping you out of kindness. Because the truth is, somewhere between that first afternoon and now, I started falling for you. Zoleka couldn't breathe. I'm falling for the way you face impossible situations with grace, the way you love Thabo so fiercely, the way you stood up to Seo Jin and my father, and the entire media without backing down, the way you make me want to be better, braver, more honest. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. I'm falling for you, and I needed you to know. Tears were streaming down Zoleka's face. I'm falling for you too. I tried not to. Told myself it was just gratitude, or temporary, or impossible. But when I watch you with Thabo, when you fight for us, when you look at me like I actually matter, I can't help it. Do-yoon set Thabo down gently on his playmat. Then he turned back to Zoleka and cupped her face in his hands. Can I kiss you? He asked. Yes. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But she didn't want to change her mind. She wanted this. Wanted him. Their lips met softly, tentatively. It wasn't dramatic or overwhelming. It was gentle and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Do-yoon rested his forehead against hers. I have no idea what happens next, he admitted. Neither do I. But we'll figure it out together. Together. Okay, real talk for a second. If you've made it this far in the story, you're probably invested in these two, right? Before we get to the ending, hit that subscribe button because trust me, you want to see how this all wraps up. And maybe drop a comment telling me what you think happens next. Do they get their happy ending? Or is there one more twist coming? Let's get to it. The evidence against Han Seo Jin went public at 7 that evening. By 8, every news outlet in Seoul was covering it. By 9, her father had released a statement disowning her actions. By 10, she'd been escorted from her family home by lawyers. The media that had crucified Zoleka for a week suddenly pivoted. Now she was the victim of a wealthy woman's jealous vendetta. Now she was sympathetic. It was almost funny how fast public opinion could shift. Over the next month, things slowly returned to normal, or at least a new version of normal. The legal case against Seo Jin moved forward. She avoided jail, but faced massive fines and community service. Her social standing was destroyed. Most of her friends abandoned her. Zoleka moved out of the safe house apartment and into a modest but nice place closer to Mrs. Lee. Do-yoon helped with the deposit, though Zoleka insisted on paying rent herself. She kept working at the Pearl Club, though manager Choi was significantly nicer to her now. The other servers slowly warmed up too, especially after Minji started defending her. Do-yoon visited 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes for dinner, sometimes just to play with Thabo, sometimes to sit quietly with Zuleika and talk about everything and nothing. They took things slow, no dramatic declarations, no rushing into anything, just getting to know each other properly. Zuleika learned that Do-yoon hated coffee, but pretended to like it in business meetings, that he had a terrible singing voice, but sang to Thabo anyway, that he was terrified of dogs but would never admit it. Do-yoon learned that Zuleika was studying online to finish her degree, that she wanted to work in international business someday, that she missed South Africa but had built a life here she wasn't ready to leave. 3 months after the scandal broke, Do-yoon's father invited them to dinner. Actual dinner, at his house, with apologies and awkward attempts at grandfatherly affection toward Thabo. It wasn't perfect. The chairman still struggled with emotions, still reverted to business talk when things got too personal. But he was trying. He asked about you yesterday, Do-yoon told Zuleika after one of these dinners. Wanted to know if you needed anything, if Thabo was healthy, if we were, his words, being sensible about the relationship. Zuleika laughed. What does sensible mean? I have no idea. I'm choosing to interpret it as his very awkward way of giving his blessing. 6 months after everything started, Zuleika graduated with her degree. Do-yoon, his father, Mrs. Lee, and even Secretary Kim came to the small ceremony. Thabo wore a tiny suit and charmed everyone. I'm proud of you, Do-yoon said afterward, holding Thabo while Zuleika changed out of her graduation gown. It's just a bachelor's degree. It's a degree you earned while working full-time and raising a child in a foreign country, while dealing with a massive public scandal. It's extraordinary, Zuleika smiled. When you put it that way. I always put it that way. You're extraordinary, and I'm going to keep reminding you until you believe it. A year after the photo that started everything, the Pearl Club held its anniversary gala. Zuleika had been promoted to assistant manager by then, working alongside a much humbler manager Choi. Do-yoon attended, of course, but this time, instead of staying separate, he asked Zuleika to join him at his table. People will talk, she warned. Let them. I'm done hiding how I feel about you. They sat together, and yes, people stared. But there were also smiles, nods of approval. The story had shifted from scandal to romance, from controversy to inspiration. Halfway through the evening, Do-yoon stood up and clinked his glass. I have an announcement, he said. The room went quiet. Zuleika's heart started pounding. They'd talked about the future, about making things official, but he hadn't mentioned doing anything public. Many of you know the story of how I met Zuleika Madonsela. It started with a misunderstanding, grew into a scandal, and became the best thing that ever happened to me. People chuckled. This past year, Zuleika has taught me what real courage looks like, what real strength is. She's taught me that perfection is overrated, but kindness never is. And she's taught me that family isn't just about blood. It's about showing up, being present, choosing to love even when it's hard. He turned to face her directly. I asked her father for permission last week. Had to do it over video call, which was terrifying in a completely different way than business negotiations. Zuleika's breath caught. Her father? He'd talked to her father. Do-yoon got down on one knee, and the entire room gasped. Zuleika Madonsela, you walked into my life carrying hope in your arms and determination in your heart. You made me remember how to feel, how to care, how to be human. He pulled out a ring, simple and beautiful. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life showing up for you and Thabo the way you've shown up for yourselves? Zuleika was crying. The entire room was watching, and she didn't care about any of it. Yes, she said. Yes, Absolutely. Yes. The room erupted in applause as Do-yoon slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her. When they finally pulled apart, someone shouted, "What about the baby?" Do-yoon smiled and pulled out a second box. Inside was a small bracelet engraved with words. He walked over to where Mrs. Lee was holding Thabo and gently fastened it around the baby's tiny wrist. "It says, 'Chosen Son,'" Do-yoon explained, his voice thick with emotion. "Because family is about choice. And I choose him. I choose both of them." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Later that night, after the celebration died down, Zuleyka and Do-yoon sat in her apartment with Thabo asleep between them on the couch. "You talked to my father," Zuleyka said, still stunned. "I did. He was intense. Asked me about 15 questions about my intentions. Wanted to know if I understood what I was taking on, if I was ready to be a father." "What did you tell him?" "That I was terrified, that I'd probably make mistakes, but that I loved his daughter and grandson more than I thought it was possible to love anyone, and that I'd spend every day trying to be worthy of them." "What did he say?" "He said good. Then he told me to take care of his baby girl, or he'd fly to Korea and make me regret it." "Your dad is scary, by the way." Zuleyka laughed through tears. "I can't believe you did that. I wanted to do things right. Honor your family. Honor you." She leaned against his shoulder. "I love you, you know. I don't think I've actually said it out loud yet. I love you too. You and this little guy." He gently touched Thabo's sleeping face. "My family." 2 years later, Zuleyka and Do-yoon stood in the same club where they first met, but this time it had been transformed into a wedding venue. Thabo, now almost 3, was the ring bearer. He took his job very seriously, walking slowly down the aisle with the rings tied to a pillow, his little face scrunched in concentration. The ceremony was a blend of Korean and South African traditions. Zuleyka's family had flown in from South Africa. Do-yoon's father sat in the front row, actually smiling. When they exchanged vows, Do-yoon promised to always be a soft place to land, to show up when things got hard, to love Thabo as his own. Zuleyka promised to be his partner in everything, to remind him to be gentle with himself, to build a life full of laughter and courage and hope. They sealed it with a kiss while everyone cheered, and Thabo shouted, "Appa," which he'd recently started calling Do-yoon. At the reception, Do-yoon's father gave a toast. "I spent most of my life believing that strength meant being hard, that love was a weakness, that vulnerability was failure." He raised his glass. "My son and his beautiful bride have taught me that I was wrong about everything. Real strength is choosing kindness. Real power is choosing love. And real success is building a family that chooses each other every day." There were tears and laughter and dancing. At one point, Zuleyka found herself alone with Minji, who'd become a real friend over the past 2 years. "Can you believe this?" Minji said. 2 years ago, you were sneaking your baby into a storage room. Now you're married to the owner. It's insane. It's a fairy tale. It's better than a fairy tale, because it's real, messy and complicated and real." Do-yoon appeared beside her, Thabo in his arms. "Dance with us? Both of you? Family dance, new tradition I just invented." They swayed together on the dance floor, Thabo giggling between them, and Zuleyka felt complete. This wasn't the life she'd planned. It wasn't the story she'd imagined. It was better. Because sometimes the best things come from the moments that terrify us, from the choices we make when we're desperate, from the kindness of strangers who become family. Zuleyka had walked into the Pearl Club one morning carrying her baby, and her fear and her hope. She'd walked out having found everything she never knew she needed. Love. Family. Home. And it all started with a baby. a storage room, and a man who chose kindness when the world expected him to be cold. If this story gave you any kind of feelings, and I really hope it did, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, because we've got more stories like this coming your way. Drop a comment and tell me what your favorite part was. Was it the press conference? The proposal? That first kiss? Let me know. And remember, sometimes your biggest mistake leads to your greatest blessing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.